What's up, everybody? This is Tommy Cleaves from Austin Underground, and I'm here at South by Southwest with Judah and the Lion. How you guys doing?
Hey, what up, Tommy?
Doing great.
Doing well.
Awesome. So first off, congratulations on the new album, Folk Hop and Roll, on the tour for it, on the music video for Reputation, and a great week of shows at South by. Got one more coming up. It's a pretty exciting time for you guys. And I know you're excited leading up to the album release and the tour, but has everything been living up to expectations so far? Or blowing them out of the water, or what?
Yeah, we've been so stoked with the response the album's gotten. We definitely took a change with this album, but it's been cool to hear people's response and just to get to play the songs live and see people's reaction. So.
Very good. So you kind of mentioned that it was a bit of a change for this album, a bit of departure from your past work. So what was inspiring you and influencing you guys as musicians when you were making this album that kind of fueled that departure a little bit?
Well, I mean, we obviously listen to a lot of music in the van because we spend a lot of time in the van, touring as much as we have in the past, 2 years. And it's kind of funny how just like running through with that, you listen to like Kanye, and then you go to like Manchester Orchestra, and then you go to these like folk bands that you've toured with. And so it just makes like for a wide variety of taste, if you will, in the van, like what we listen to. And then when we got closer to the record, we got more into like Run DMC, Beastie Boys style, like hip hop, and you can hear that a little bit and on the record. And so, yeah, we just decided with all these like flavors that we love and that we have, especially for our live show, to kind of incorporate the hip hop beats and the feel and the heart, I guess, and the freaking guts of rock and roll, and then hopefully, get some kind of beauty in there, like with the banjo and the folk that obviously we're rooted in. So, yeah, it's been kind of a crazy journey, like trying to do new stuff with the new record, but the live show and the response has been awesome from it. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that definitely comes through in the album, because when I think about words to describe it, I think like eclectic and innovative and, of course, downright fun. Yeah. But I was reading an article, and it described it as like a rule-breaking album. So was there anyone that was kind of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't make a folk, rock, and hip-hop album? Maybe you should try to like narrow it down, focus on one genre? And if there were people like that, how did you deal with those haters?
I think there have been some people, like some fans that are a little taking them a little bit of time to get into it. But it's just one of those things, like we all have these different influences, and what a band is joining those together and creating a sound. So we just wanted to go for a sound and something that was unique to us, and fresh and new. And for us, that was joining those genres together. So, yeah.
Bump the haters,
Bump the haters,
yeah.
Bump the system, bump the haters, everything, man. So you mentioned that you have different backgrounds as musicians. Could you guys talk a little bit about your different backgrounds and how they come into play in the band?
Yeah.
I grew up listening to, in middle school, like jazz rock, so like Chicago, and then really got into Death Cab for Cutie in high school. So
My influences come kind of from my mom's side, is like more of like the Queen, like Tom Petty, REO Speedwagon, kind of like the rock. And then my dad was obsessed with like 50 Cent and like the Gap Band and Run DMC. So we kind of.
Yeah, I grew up listening to like a lot of Chicago hip hop, and then also like folk. And one interesting thing, I know you can say yours real quick, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll add to that.
Okay. I was kind of the punk metalhead kid growing up in middle school and high school, and my parents were also classical musicians in the symphony, and so I had kind of the symphonic metal rock background, and then got really into bluegrass later on.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that me and Nate obviously have the bluegrass kind of instruments. But we didn't pick those up until the end of high school. Both of us, our senior year, he got a banjo, I got a mandolin, and we obviously didn't know each other at that point. But we kind of started getting into that like bluegrass scene at that point, which is another, I think, really interesting thing about our sound. Because if that hadn't happened, we could just be like a rock band. Or
I started to learn to sing bluegrass too, so at senior year.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was weird.
Crooner, true crooner. Yeah. Anyways,
It's beautiful, beautiful sound. I really love it. So for me, a big thing of what I get out of your music has to do with faith. It's definitely not the only thing, but it is a huge part of it. And I know faith is important to you guys as individuals. So talk a little bit about how faith influences the unique identity you guys have as a band and the artists you are. Because I think you found a pretty cool niche with it in the music industry, at least from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just talk a little bit about that.
Well, I can start. I'm sure everybody has a lot of thoughts, but I saw this quote one time from Martin Luther, and it's kind of like marked me, and maybe the rest of the guys too. But it said like along the lines of, if you're a Christian and you're a shoemaker, the best thing you can do as a shoemaker is make great shoes, not to put a cross on those shoes. And so, like for us, it's really important to like use these gifts that we've been given and do them to the best of our abilities, and that way, like we can be true to our faith, and like with that, hopefully reach a broader audience and kind of reach people that don't have faith or don't have hope that we have.
yeah. I mean, just to add to that, we really want the culture of our shows to be like open to anybody to come, and that we can like our music can hopefully reach anybody, and we'll all have a good time together, and kind of break down the walls that sometimes people can put up against just any demographic of people, not even just Christians, but just any group of people that you have like judgments about or whatever. So we just want to break the walls down and just have a party, basically.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I really admire you guys as a band and as people of faith. But yeah, so having said that, what do you hope that your music does for the people that listen to it? How do you hope that it impacts them? What do you hope that they get out of it?
I mean, I think as like the songwriting and stuff, and when we make records, it's really important for us to leave with like a hopeful message at the end of the day. Because, and I don't know, maybe it was my wife, I was talking to her about like, it's so hard to like write sad songs for me, because like I just, obviously like it's sad music is pretty much everywhere. And usually it's kind of the opposite for songwriters. So I don't know if that's like a flaw on my part, but it's just like we want our music to have like a message of like fun and like hopeful endings, even with truthful songs like Insane on our last record. To get down to the core of like life like sucks sometimes, but at the end of the day, like we still have hope. So like, as long as it brings like a refreshing, like almost like a nice like sunrise feel to somebody's day, or yeah, that's kind of a weird answer, wasn't it?
I feel it though. I feel it. Okay, so now I have one last question, and it's easily my most important question. My favorite song on this record is Forever Always. So if you each have to answer this, had to pick one restaurant to be your Forever Always, meaning you could only eat there for the rest of your lives, what would it be?
Chick-fil-A.
Torchies.
Nice.
Remember that if you're watching. Free queso, right?
It's called Los Burritos Tapatios. It's in the little town of Wheaton, Illinois. It's actually in Glen Ellen, Illinois, but it's outside of Chicago, and it's my hometown find. Yeah, childhood memory.
You should go there if you're ever there. It's awesome.
I'm gonna go with my hometown taco shop,
Taco X.
Taco X. So it's wonderful. Yeah.
Lobster.
I really like lobster too. Couldn't think of my particular restaurant though, so Taco X.
Well, thank you guys so much for sitting down and talking to us. Good luck at your last show, and we'll see you back in April at the Parish. Thank you guys. Jude and the Lion, check them out.